More. Manners respect people. Manners respect. Manners respect people. Manners respect. Yes, we're back at it again. Right, people? I sit down and I talk to my brother and I listen to my brother. And I keep on saying, the world is not the problem. The world is not the problem. The people in the world are the problem. The people in the world are the problem. People don't have no love for humanity, right? Because people don't have no love for humanity, it becomes coming like a war we're living in. Right, people? So I listen to him, I listen, I talk to him, I try conversate with him about certain things. The thing about it is we can be better people, you know. The thing about it is we can be better people, but do we want to be better people? Isn't that weird? We want to be better people, or we don't want to be better people. uh, so we have start have the conversation about my nutty. I put up the nutty on my YouTube channel. Everywhere I'm gonna put up a picture a nut here with coconut and 6 different nuts. How me make it is just delicious, right? So the man at tell me said him tell people people but tell they say it nice. You hear me I say? It's the same time I make it and I sell it, I charge a price fee because first of all the amount of nuts them are in there, right? So just the nuts alone is expensive. Plus my time to make it and make it delicious. And it's also by request. You can request like how much nuts, the nuts them you want in there and all of them stuff there. When me make it, make it with the nuts them that I like, right? So I put in peanut, I put in cashew, I put in almonds, I put in pistachios, I put in sunflower seed, I put in coconut. So when I make it like in a brick. So everything when I do, I always make sure say I do it with love. Because if you don't like it, why give it to a next person? That's always my thing. If you don't like it for yourself, why give it to a next person? So we did our conversate about it and and he might tell me how expensive um cashew is, you know. He might tell me how expensive cashew is. Like, so me no know. And me have to buy it, and me have to buy the other ingredients to make it. Same time I sell it, you can't ball. It's worth the price, but people, what do you think? When you do business with we, anytime you say discount, it means free. uh, when you do business with we, when you say discount, it's free. That's that's what I've learned. Because I tell you, something, I've always been like a business minded person. I've always been a business minded person. That's why I always look at things in a business perspective, right? So then you might talk about cooking, you might say, oh, him know say me know what I can do, right? You might say, well, me know you can cook. I don't know about my brother. The other one, my other brother can cook too. All of we can cook. You know what I say? It's just different style. So if a long time I did say, if we did organize things the way it's supposed to be, and we did focus on the business side and not the well, me older than you, so do what me say. uh, okay, but me are the the business owner. So what you mean? People me are telling us that sometimes we put the differences aside to create something that's long lasting. The ego sometimes get in the way to make things don't work according to how it's supposed to work. But me say if we put the ego aside, if we learn how to speak to each other, because I tell you, want to bring him on one time, you know what? Then probably then probably I go flag my YouTube channel like 30 times for one flag. Because trust me, my brother raw. He speak truth, but him raw. Him offend a lot of people, but it's true. All of them things are in a one. When I say him are the one where disturb the undisturbable people. Honestly, him say a lot of things straightforward. And since me there around in my whole life, me can understand certain things. Because even okay, so all right, let me see if I him tailor where him tailor or him dentist him a go for a long time, years and years, long before they shut down the world. And when him forward after them shut down the world, um one of the assistant I look upon him and I say, oh, people start dress good since Corona. And if you know my brother, trust me, that a total disrespect. Cause my brother is the king of dressing. You hear me I say? Him specialize in looking good. So if she said that, totally disrespectful. So one of the person that I worked there for a long time said, no, 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 no. When the dentist, like the dentist that had owned the place before him was there, him admire the shoes that my brother wear, like his own, like a them type of shoes that the dentist wear. So it's like, so them have him and the dentist have something in common, shoes, not teeth, you know. Not teeth, people, shoes. So that's a one thing, he was very proud of. But then him, according to him feel like he would want still give her a peace of mind. Let's just say that. I mean, I say, but wait, but what the sense you want give her a peace of your mind for when the doctor done educate her? Say, I know since them shut down the world, you all look the way you look. So you never have to do nothing. You never have to say nothing. Because she's being corrected. And that's why you just chill. But we already we want we want for we pound of flesh. People understanding. It's so amazing, right? When you have the ability to reason, if you work out the Rubik's Cube, like mess up the Rubik's Cube and put it back together. That's pretty much our everyday life, with everyday struggle. And just, you go to sleep, put the Rubik's Cube back together, wake up in the morning, a Rubik's Cube all toss, colors there everywhere. And isn't it funny? The Rubik's Cube are four sides. No, is it four? Well, they start out with four side, and then them have one with the eight side, and to all the people, well, to all the people them wanna know Rubik's Cube, them have to go research that. I never know if them still have it now because them things it make you work on your memory. That's one of the good thing about it. Remembering the move, where to get where you're supposed to go. Hmm. So we always have complex thoughts. We always have amazing solution ability, solving problems ability. And right through with history, look at it, we solve color barrier. Imagine that we solve color barrier, something will never exist. No, seriously, think about it. Color barrier. What's color barrier? So even if we solve the equation of color barrier, we solve the equation of trajectory, because if you land if you fly gas space and all of them things that we figure that out. So eventually we're gonna figure it out. Eventually we're gonna figure it out. And the same time we figure it out, we never have to eliminate anybody. We just have to eliminate them thought process. Right, AI? Because remember, say AI thought process have to change for it to understand. So thought process is one of the issues in society. In society. So I already got through that book already. Brené Brown, New York Times best-selling author. Atlas After Heart. I'm gonna talk about how I find the book by itself, by this lady, sitting beside this lady, and I will say hi to the lady. I ask her if that's her book, and she says no. And I said, okay, it's time for me to read. Because again, I was surprised that it was just sitting there, and I am just saying that the just be curious enough to look at it. That other thing with me. That's where questions come in for me, because me ask question. Me ask her, is it your book? Me ask her, how you doing first of all? So me always ask question, I say, I'm gonna tell you, say, talking to my brother, before me even talk to my brother, it's pretty much a ladies, female, right? Because today I did like the male part, right? And tonight is the female part. Balance it out. So I said, I pick up the book because Professor Small says reading is such a great thing to do. And your mind is such a great thing not to waste. That's so much more positive. So I grabbed up because there's so much chapters in there, and every chapter needs to be explored. That's why I'm saying more everything comes in part one, part two, you know, in depth into the people them. So I'm opening up to chapter 12. I'm gonna tell you say it's when I go into these, it's just highlighting parts of things, right? So this is chapter 12 or hashtag 12, apparently. It says places we go when we feel wronged. Places we go when we feel wrong. Okay. And it says anger, contempt, disgust, dehumanization, hate, self righteousness. And we look on self righteousness, and I'm kind of question self righteousness because self righteousness means you feel right in yourself, or do you want justice? That are the righteousness part of it. Self justified to do what is right when you feel wrong. So, all right, so I'm just again. So one time I got through them lesson here, right? It's it's understanding for me too. So, I talk, I talk to my brother earlier, right? And just the conversation we did have, right? So now, anger. If you look across the research, you learn that anger is an emotion that we feel when something gets in the way of a desired outcome or when we believe there's a violation of the way things should be. When we feel anger, we believe that someone or something else is to blame for an unfair or unjust situation and that something can be done to resolve the problem. Anger is an action emotion. We want to do something when we feel it, and when we're on the receiving end of it, Additionally, according to Charles Spielenberger, an influential anger researcher, angry feelings can vary in, in intensity, from mild irritation or annoyance to fury and rage. Anger is a full contact emotion because it activates our nervous system and can hijack our thoughts and behavior. It can take a real toll on our mental and physical health. Researchers explain that regulating and coping with anger rather than holding on to or expressing chronic anger is crucial for the health of our brain. It reduces psychiatric problems and other organs in the body. There's also an interesting biological component to anger. A substantial amount of research indicates that our propensity for anger and aggression is partially hereditary, but the specific gene location have not yet been identified. So we have anger gene in our yo people. You know, hear me I say? We have anger genes in our way. That's funny. But tell us, we just talk to my brother, you know, I just I should have known that for a long time, anyways. No, sir. All right, as we continue, people. Okay, so what I've learned, unlearned, and continue to learn about anger, damn it. I spent a lot of my career saying that anger is a secondary or indicator emotion that often conceals emotion that are harder to recognize, name, or own. I spent a lot of my career saying that anger is a secondary or indicator. An indicator is in a quote. Emotions that often conceals emotions that are harder to recognize, name, or own. So them have emotions within emotions. This is why I'm have to read it twice because I didn't understand that. This is why I say question. We must ask questions. Questions. According to 91% of emotions experts, I am wrong. Yes, 91% of emotion experts believe that anger is a primary emotion. Maybe its semantics and our differences come down to how we define primary. Or maybe I've got it and had it all wrong. Honestly, there are a lot of debates in the research that I don't think are worth digging into because they don't teach us much. But this debate is worth understanding. As I mentioned in the introduction, we asked around 7,500 people to identify all of the emotions that they could recognize and name when they're experiencing them. The average was three: glad, sad, and mad. No. Or, as they were more often written, happy, sad, and pissed off. Couple this extremely limited vocabulary with the importance of emotional literacy, and you basically have a crisis. It's this crisis that I'm trying to help address in this book. Over the past 2 decades, when research participants talk about being angry, the story never stopped there. Their narratives of anger unfolded into stories of betrayal, fear, grief, injustice, shame, vulnerability, and other emotions. Okay, but stories, but these are not. I could have sworn these are all feelings. Well, there's kind of emotions or feelings. Okay. And other, yeah, but and other emotions. So how come them I say Happy, sad, and pissed off. Okay, the average. The average people only choose three. Understandable. Ultimately, the combination of data showing how limited emotional vocabularies can be with our experience of interviewing people about anger and watching them consistently reveal other emotions behind the anger led me to challenge the idea that anger is a primary emotion. The more data we collected, including interviews with more than 1,500 therapists and counselors, the more certain I became that anger is a secondary or indicator, emotion that can mask or make us unaware of other feelings that are out of reach in terms of language or that are much more difficult to talk about than anger. We live in a world where it's much easier to say, I'm so pissed off, than I feel so betrayed and hurt. It's even easier to say, I'm angry with myself than I'm disappointed with how I showed up. Clin- clinicians and educators use many tools to help clients and students uncover the emotion that shows up as anger. I think I think these are especially helpful. Okay, and that's for me. I say it's how people classify, how it's the wrong term for situation. People adapt. Myself, people just the vocabulary is not expanding, so them use the same word over for 10 different situations. Meanwhile, all 10 different situation is the same. That's why I feel we don't speak enough to understand, explore conversations. Okay, behind this, and them have a diagram in it. Behind this anger might be fear, anxiety, frustration, confusion, grief, hurt, sadness, isolation, guilt, shame, jealousy, outrage at injustice, helplessness, overwhelming stress, humiliation, embarrassment, depression, rejection, loneliness. That's a lot of stuff behind this. There's a lot of stuff behind this anger. So I guess if you're an angry person, that's what I say. Sometimes, people, I see people will come and they will say something totally different from what's happening. It's not because they that's what they want to do, but that's what they feel like they have to do. Because when people don't communicate, and that match I show, so when we run away from being humans, we have issues. Okay. Managing your anger. What's behind it? Anger. So them have a next diagram. And it has it pretty much has all the same ilks that makes I'm not saying a person holy man. So I'm not read the book. All right. So behind the anger you have shame, fear, restriction, guilt, depression, worry, jealousy, hurt, Now there's a few of them more, but pretty much it's the same thing, that there's other feelings other than just anger. Okay. Even if you look at the list of 87 emotions and experience in this book, more than 20 of them are likely to present as anger or with anger, feeling increasingly confident that anger is a secondary or indicator emotions. I was left with some big questions to answer. In the face of injustice, can we just be enraged, furious, angry? Does it have to be masking or indicating something? Or okay, does it have to be masking or indicating something? Or can we just be mad? The answer to both of these questions is yes. And as a former union organizer and lifelong activist, I think anger is often the most compassionate response to experiencing or witnessing injustice. It can be a powerful catalyst for change that doesn't need to be explained or justified. And I still think that behind the anger is a tempest of pain, grief, betrayal, disappointment, and other emotions. In Braving the Wilderness, I write about pain, hate, and anger, especially as they pertain to social justice issues. I'm going to share an excerpt with you here. Sometimes owning our pain and hearing witness and bearing witness to struggle means getting angry. When we deny ourselves the right to be angry, we deny our pain. There are a lot of coded shame messages in the rhetoric of why so hostile. Don't get hysterical. I'm sensing so much anger, and don't take it so personally. All of these responses are normally coded for your emotion or opinion is making me uncomfortable, or suck it up and stay quiet. One response to this is get angry and stay angry. I haven't seen that advice borne out in the research. What I found is that yes, we all have the right and need to feel and own our anger. It's an important human experience, and it's critical to recognize that maintaining anger, any level of rage, anger, or contempt, that favorite connection of a little anger and a little disgust over a long period of time is not sustainable. Anger is a catalyst. Holding on to it will make us exhausted and sick. Ah, uh, internalizing anger will take away our joy and spirit. Externalizing anger will make us less effective in our attempt to create change and forge connections. It's an emotion that we need to transform into something like life giving courage, love, change, compassion, justice. Or sometimes anger can mask a far more difficult emotions like grief, regret, or shame. And we need to use it to dig into what we are really feeling. Either way, anger is a powerful catalyst, but a life sucking companion. Straight facts. So, do I think anger is a primary emotion or not? I don't know. There are so many competing lists of primary emotion. I don't know if it matters whether anger belongs on one of those lists. Here are the three things I do know from the work I've done over the past 20 plus years. So, anger is a catalyst. Holding on to it will make us exhausted and sick. Internalizing anger will take away our joy and spirit. Externalizing anger will make us less effective in our attempt to create change and forge connection. It's an emotion that we need to transform into something life giving. courage, love, change, compassion, justice. All right. So the three things, they put that in upon a full page so you can understand what that means. Okay, so my 20 plus years. Number one, anger often masks emotions that are more difficult to name and are more difficult to own. Just as an indicator light in our car tells us to pull over and check things out, anger is a very effective emotional indicator light that tells us to pull over and check things out. That's why I'm say always take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, take a deep breath. I know I'm gonna say. Because it's just a moment, and I said that. And I'm not a professor. I'm just saying. Anger in response to experiencing or witnessing injustice, pain, and struggle can be a powerful catalyst for change. But by definition, a catalyst sparks change. It's not the change. Hmm. It sparks changes. So after we burn down the building and everything, this is what I say. Okay, so after we burn down the building, then what are we gonna do after? Where is the implementation of paperwork, like going to writing up what is supposed to change, like the changes that you need to see, so we not do it again. This is what I'm saying. What's the sense we are marching after the march? What comes out of it though? I always ask a question then. Okay, so we are march. All right. After the march, remember when George Floyd and them were march everywhere in the world? I'm gonna say, okay, then fine. So what we are going, and you see, nobody no write nothing, no implementation to say, okay, this is gonna be the conduct or this is nothing. Them say, oh, defund the police, and then it just goes away. That's why I'm gonna say it's true. It sparks the changes though, but we have to create the change. I say, when you look on the past, you can turn it around and it's gonna be the future if we don't change nothing. Now it makes sense? No? Hit the dislike button. Hit the dislike. Okay. Contempt. A next con word, right? When someone is angry at you, you've still got traction with them. But when they display contempt, you have been dismissed. That was Pamela Meyer. When I heard the word contempt, I immediately think of two of my favorite researchers, John and Julie Gottman. John is known across the globe for more than 40 years of research on marital stability and divorce prediction. He is the author or co-author of more than 200 published academic articles and more than 40 books. Julie is a highly respected clinical psychologist and expert on marriage, domestic violence, gay and lesbian adoption, same-sex marriage, and parenting issues, who co-designed the National Clinical Training Program in Gottman method couples therapy. Why do I think of them when I think of contempt? Because John describes contempt as perhaps the most corrosive force in marriage, and his research on marriage has identified contemptuous communication as a strong predictor of divorce. In fact, through a series of studies conducted in their lab, where they observed thousands of couples, John Gottman and his research partner were able to predict with over 90% accuracy which couples would eventually divorce. Contempt. Contempt means divorce. Joking, I didn't say that. Okay. All right, and that myself, all you talk to each other. And trust me, sometimes in time I hear it, I know what it sound like. Hmm. Contempt is one of the most damaging of the four negative communication patterns that predict divorce. The other three are criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Ignoring, stonewalling. Okay, so for me, that's bad. Because me just say, all right, then you know what? I'm done. I'm not interested. Because if everything else leads up to this, it's just like, yo, I'm done. Okay, all right, I could continue, yeah, suckers. Don't take it personal. I am educating myself too, people. It's not just about these. These took on the names of the four horsemen of the occult. Up, up. Okay, this word occult. APOCALYPSE. I always have problem with this word apocalypse. I think that's what it's apocalypse. It just sounds funny when I say it in my brain. That's all. A term that originates from Christian mythology. Christian mythology? That can't be possible. In his book, Why Marriage Succeed or Fail, John Gotham writes, what separates contempt from criticism is the intention to insult and psychologically abuse your partner with your words and body language. You're lobbying insults right into the heart of your partner's sense of self. Jesus. Okay, all right. You're lobbing insults into the heart of your partner's sense of self, fueling these contemptuous actions are negative thoughts about the partner. He or she is stupid, disgusting, incompetent, a fool. In direct or subtle fashion, that message gets across with the criticism. So, pretty much condemning them because that's what I say. Okay, fine. So that's what I say. Okay, fine. It's okay if you can criticize, but the condemnation, right? Look, that's why I'm say. I rather leave it alone because if me have to stoop to certain things, I rather go about my business. And so always me say. So am I a coward from? Because sometimes some issues just keeps on going with no solution. So if you have to stoop to that, I say it's not worth it. We can feel and show contempt towards individuals or groups. In either instances, being on the receiving end of contempt is often painful because it's shaming and belittling. Over the past 5 years, contempt between political and ideological groups has been at an all-time high. Think about the political climate today as you read this description from an article on the Gottman's website. When you communicate with contempt, the results can be cruel. Treating others with disrespect and mocking them with sarcasm, conden- condense, condensation are forms of contempt. Or condescension then. Because me I say, oh, this a word is so long. So the word is condescension are forms of contempt. And that match I show you, when it come in your brain, it doesn't it doesn't compute. And that match I show you, so we are the original AI them, Our great ability is within us. So self-correction, because me look on the word and my brain just a tell me say there's more to it. So our hostile humor, name calling, mimicking, and body language such as eye rolling and sneering in whatsoever forms contempt is poisonous to a relationship because it conveys disgust and superiority, especially moral, ethical, or characterological. Whoa, I like that word. Characterological. Characterological. Contempt simply put says I'm better than you and you are lesser than me. And that me tell us that I don't treat people them ways because I don't want people treat me them ways there. You hear me I say? Out of all of this, the eye rolling thing, I tell you, so I always get in a trouble for that. Because sometimes it just can't get away from the eye rolling thing. I tell you the honest truth. That are the only thing I say, yes, yes, yes. But that still shows indiscipline, even the eye rolling. I know, people. I'm not perfect. Ah, I can't always draw the card because when I don't say it already, we're not perfect, right? So I have an excuse not to be perfect. Because even if I was, I wouldn't get the credit anyways. Just saying, as we continue, people. Contempt results in distancing, ignoring, or excluding the contemptible person. They are not considered worthy of one's time or energy. This attitude seems partially attributable to the key distinguishing feature between contempt and anger, namely that contempt results when there is the perception that the contemptible person is incapable of change, but also a person feeling contempt often wants or needs to feel better about themselves, and they do so by diminishing the person who is the object of their contempt. It's no wonder that research has shown that the contemptuous person is likely to experience feelings of low self esteem, inadequacy, and shame. In a March 2019 New York Times opinion piece entitled Our Culture of Contempt, author C. Brooks writes, political scientists have found that our nation is more polarized than it has been at any time since the Civil War. 1 in 6 Americans has stopped talking to a family member or close friend because of the 2016 election. Millions of people organize their social lives and their new news exposure along ideological lines to avoid people with opposite viewpoints. What's our problem? So, through politics, yes, through politics, people draw a line and hate each other. And so, ugh. A 2014 article in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science on motive attribution asymmetry. This has two M. ASYMMETRY. 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 Okay. The assumption that your ideology is based in love while your opponent's is based in hate. That's what that means. So you are the good guy and them are the bad guy. The researchers found that the average Republicans and the average Democrats today suffer from a level of motive attribution asymmetry that is comparable with that of Palestinians and Israelis. Each side think it is driven by benevolent, while the other is evil and motivated by hatred, and is therefore an enemy with whom one cannot negotiate or compromise. People often say that our problem in America today is incivility or intolerance. This is incorrect. Motive attribution asymmetry leads to something far worse, contempt, which is a noxious brew of anger and disgust, and not just contempt for other people ideas, but also for other people. In the words of the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, 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 contempt is the unsullied convictions of the worthlessness of another. Brooks goes on to say, contempt makes political compromise and progress impossible. It also makes us unhappy as people. According to the American Psychological Associations, the feeling of rejection so often experienced after being treated with contempt increases anxiety, depression, and sadness. It also damages the contemptuous person by stimulating two stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, in ways both public and personal contempt cause us deep harm. Brooks' solution is not that we need to disagree less, but we need to learn how to disagree better without contempt or cruelty. It's really not far off from the Gottman's approach of teaching us how to replace negative communication patterns with new skills that convey respect and appreciation. People don't hear that? What may I try to say? Manners, respect, or we talk to each other all the time. That may I try to show you that this book is so amazing, right? This book, the title it again is Brené Brown Atlas of the Heart, and it's very it's very informative. So I just want to finish just part the disgusting part. Disgust, just the word disgust. All right, disgust. And again, this I totally agree with that. Or we said patterns, or we speak to each other, right? And it have a company respect and the appreciation of each other. I might be willing to try eating monkey meat under some circumstances. It bothers me to hear someone clear a throat full of mucus. If I see someone vomit, it makes me sick to my stomach. It would not upset me at all to watch a person with a glass eye take the eye out of the socket. Even if I was hungry, I would not drink a bowl of my favorite soup if it had been stirred by a used but thoroughly washed fly swatter. Disgust. Those are disgust. Those are the definition of disgust. Gross. I know. Welcome to disgust. People, welcome to disgust. There are 5 items from the disgust scale, revised DSR, a valid and reliable measure of disgust developed by a team of researchers in the mid 1990s and revised in 2007. Jonathan Haidt, the lead researcher on the team that created the scale, in a social psychological and writer who is the Thomas Cooley Professor of Ethical Leadership at the New York University Stern School of Business. I poses a critical question. Disgust is a fascinating emotion. Its elicitors are a puzzle. It makes sense that we are disgusted by things that can contaminate our food, But why does this food related emotion extend itself so deeply into our social world? So that people feel disgusted by certain ethnic group or by racism, by homosexuality, or by homophobia, and by a variety of social and moral violation that don't involve anything physically contaminated. Uh, that's what I'm saying. People said things in a different, like the meaning for the word them use it different. That's not what they mean. So sometimes a person might say, "Oh, I was so happy this person passed," and I said, "What that mean?" And I said, "No, not happy said them passed, but I feel good that they passed because they were in so much pain." But that's not happy. That can't You can't use that word in that sentence. And that's why I tell you say many times people get away with using certain words in sentences and it becomes normal and accepted, not corrected. That's why I'm saying certain people can't, nobody can call me a certain name, right? All on the people, me have, me did I tell you something, me done my sweet potato pie? No, me never tell you, no, me I tell you. I have to go check it before me write it. Jesus, it smells delicious. Yeah, people, so as we proceed with the education of disgusting. So more time people, them just don't know how to communicate properly. I'm gonna tell you some most of the time now, when them create TikTok, it's for us to get worse, not for us to get better, right? So understanding disgust. With contempt, we look down on the other person and we want to exclude or ignore them. With disgust, inferiority is not the issue. The feeling is more physical. We want to avoid being poisoned, quote unquote, either literally or figuratively. The poisoning thing is real. Researchers believe that the experience of disgust encourages individuals to distance themselves from the emotion eliciting source, thereby limiting contact and exposure to the potentially infectious or toxic target. I love that Steven Pinker refers to disgust as intuitive microbiology. According to emotions research pioneer Paul Ekman, disgust arises as a feeling of aversion towards something offensive. We can feel disgusted by something we perceive with our physical sense, sight, smell, touch, sound, taste, by the action or appearance of people, and even by ideas. Ekman found that disgust contains a range of states with varying intensities from mild dislike and aversion to repugnance. Wow, a long time. I don't see that word there, no. Re- Revolution and intense loathing, or revulsion. Yeah, revulsion and intense loathing. All states of disgust are triggered by the feeling that something is aversive, repulsive, and or toxic. Ekman was made invaluable contributions to the study of emotions, especially in identifying the relationship between emotions and facial expressions. Explain that when we feel disgust, we often wrinkle our nose, choke or gag, cover our mouth or nose while hunching over. Ah! All of them emotion that you got you as if we might vomit, recoil, or back away, say yuck or ew. Circling back to the question posed by Jonathan Haidt, how does an emotion that is hardwired to protect us from actual toxins and poisons become something that we feel toward another people? Researchers explain that core discuss is thought to protect the body from ingestion of contaminants, while discuss is an interpersonal context is thought to protect us from unseemly behavior or contamination of the soul. Really? Really? Okay. But it's not just unseemly behavior that makes us feel disgust towards other people. We have taken an emotion that keeps us safe from the stuff that can make us sick and turn it into an emotion that can be weaponized against people who make us sick simply because we either disagree with them or they're different from us. One example of this is the dangerous relationship between disgust and dehumanization. Researchers Maria Michelli and Cristiano Franchi, Franchi, Castlefranchi found that reaction of disgust can rapidly lead to dehumanizing, othering, and marginalizing individuals or groups of people. This element of dehumanization seems to be one of the characteristics that distinguish disgust from contempt. They write, the disrespect involved in disgust implies that human dignity is perceived as alienable. The person is responsible for the bad action they have done, but the very effect of that action is dehumanizing by performing it. One has responsibly degraded oneself to subhuman. They go on to explain how moral disgust is even more dangerous because of its dehumanizing implication. Disgusting people, if no longer viewed as person, can suffer much more than othering and marginalization. Once we dehumanize people, violence and cruelty towards them becomes easier to perpetrate because the parts of us that are hardwired to not hurt other people turned off in our minds. In our minds, we have stripped them of their humanity. Another difference that makes disgust more dangerous is that once a target is viewed with disgust, this judgment seems to be permanent. Evaluations of disgust seem to indicate a reprehensible moral character that is immutable and unforgivable. At least with anger, an apology or repatriation has the potential to reverse the damage done. So so that's how them people look on them one another. Wow. Dehumanize each other. That's why they can do them cruel things there. Wow. It's crazy people. Dehumanization continued to be one of the greatest threats to humanity. If we're going to save ourselves and one another, we need to understand what it is and how it works. I've adapted what I wrote about the dehumanization process in Braving the Wilderness, and I'm including it here as a primer. After researching and writing on disgust, I made connection that I have missed in the past. So while adapted from Brave in the Wilderness, this section includes some new thoughts. David Livingstone Smith, the author of Less Than Humans, explained that dehumanization is a response to conflicting motives. We want to harm a group of people, but it goes against our wiring as members of social species to actually harm, box up, torture, or degrade other humans. Smith explained that very deep and inhabit, natural inhabitations prevent us from treating other people like animals, game, or dangerous predators, he writes. Backside. Dehumanization is a way of subverting those inhibitants. Boxfoot. Dehumanization is a process. I think Michelle Manis, a professor in the philosophy department of at Emmanuel College, lays it out in a way that makes sense. So I'll use some of our work here to walk us through it. Malise defines dehumanization as the psychological process of demonizing the enemy, Waxfoot, making them seem less than humans and hence not worthy of humane treatment. Dehumanizing often starts with creating an enemy image. Wow. As we take sides, lose trust, and get angrier and angrier, we not only solidify an idea of our enemy, but we also start to lose our ability to listen, communicate, and practice even a modicum of empathy. Once we see people on the other side, quote unquote, the other side of a conflict as morally inferior and even dangerous, the conflict starts being framed as good versus evil. Malise writes, once the parties have framed the conflict in this way, their positions become more rigid. In some cases, zero sum thinking develops as parties come to believe that they must either secure their own victory or face defeat. New goals to punish or destroy the opponent arise, and in some cases, more militant leadership comes into power. Dehumanization has fueled innumerable acts of violence, human rights violations, war crimes, genocides. It makes slavery, torture, and human trafficking possible. Dehumanizing others is the process by which we become accepting of violations against human nature. Jesus. The human spirits, the human spirit, and for many of us, violations against the central tenets of our faith. How does this happen? Malise explains that most of us believe that people's basic human rights should not be violated, that crimes like murder and torture are wrong. Successful dehumanizing, however, creates moral exclusion. Groups targeted based on their identity, gender, ideology, skin color, ethnicity, religion, age are depicted as less than, quote unquote, or criminal or even evil. The targeted group eventually falls into falls out of the scope of who's naturally protected by our moral code. This is a moral exclusion, and dehumanization is at its core. Dehumanization always starts with language. The music, often followed by images, videos. Oh boy, them people, I know. Wow. You see this throughout history. During the Holocaust, Nazis, Nazis described Jews as subhuman. On Tommission, they called Jews rats and depicted them as disease-carrying rodents in everything from military pamphlets to children's books. Hutus involved in the Rwanda genocide called Tutsis cockroaches. Indigenous people often referred to as savages. Serbs called Bosnian aliens. Slave owners throughout history considered slaves subhuman animals. What really struck me as I was reading this and look at new research on dehumanization is that the language we use to dehumanize is effective because it actually taps into core disgust. We reduce people to the types of things that make us physically recoil, as we do from cockroaches, rats, and infestations. We reduce people into things that make us grossed out. One of the arguments of this book is that language matters. So when I talk about it's the raw material of story. It changes how we feel about ourselves and others. And it's a portal to connection with the same amount of power. Language can also be used to strip people of their dignity and humanity. With awareness about how dehumanization work comes the responsibility to call out dangerous language when we recognize it. This is why I keep on saying how we talk to ourselves. It's so important. The conversation what we have, how we communicate with respect. Tell us that them things that it's not if them people are big people who write book and doctrine and say the same thing, how is it not right? The manners respect what we have for each other, the balance what we have for each other. So I choose a lady tonight, right? Because I tell you, say education, it comes from so many different places. How we learn, how we understand, right? I'm gonna start off reading that book here because when we open up that book, you can just see the perspective of a different view on many things. Because I keep on saying it, if everything on YouTube is the same, right? Shouldn't something be different? Everything can be the same. We can't be running all in the same direction without anybody questioning the direction where we are running. First of all, or question where we're going. So when I read them book, can I understand what all of them great people have been through? I understand. So when I say me I go through them things that I am learning more. And it has show me why certain things happen. Because there's no way a person can take a machine or machine gun and shoot a person 150,000 times if him did have some feelings toward that person. So when you look on it, we dehumanize each other. These are the core of the things them. These are the devil is in the detail where we don't want to look on. But when you look on it, education, betterment in the detail. Hate. So we pass through discuss and we are reaching a hate. Tell us that book, yeah, open any book and it's a whole universe within a book. There's a whole universe. That's why I used to read them book there. Wish Song of Shannara, Sword of Shannara. It was like them book they're so big. Some people say, boy, I can't even bother look on them book, them so big. I mean I say it's so big. It's not even big enough for all of them character they in there. But then can fit all of them character there, all of them places there in that little book there. So it's just how people see how their mind put things together to understand it. And that may talk about with the Rubik's Cube. Or when they come out with the Rubik's Cube, put it together, show us how it stay, broke it up, give it back again and tell if we put it back together. And we mind remembering the sequences to put it back together. That's why I say I know so we're great. But the things them will stop us from our greatness are the things them we create in our mind. I say it. Free your mind. Because no people, they don't live within their mind, they live outside. If you watch the video I talk about the snow today, how white the snow is, and I say within that space, that's what you're supposed to have within your mind, that white. From corner to corner, pure white. So beautiful. Sorry if you don't have that, you have to find a way to sit down and talk to somebody to help you with that, to find it back. Because it's within all of us, Again, some people have snake in their mind and them afraid of snake. So they can't go in there. Some afraid of spider. Them have spider in their mind. Them not go in there because they're afraid of spider. Whatever them have in their mind, it's not them. And them supposed to be comfortable within their mind. So I explain to my brother, say, when they talk about bad mind, it don't even exist. It's just a cool thing. They make a song out of it and now everybody want to be bad mind. But there's no such thing as bad mind. It's weak-minded people. A weak-minded person can't make decisions for themselves. So they need the group. If them a go out, them have to call 10 people. Where are we? Where are all right, me I wear that too. Them say, I'm gonna talk about one accident that happened at Jamaica. I think it was yesterday or where must be 7 people in the accident and them say a 7 man in a one little car. And them say the last person where them call, right? The last person where them go pick up in him house. And then go pick him up. And then got the car with 6 man in there already. And him still going out. So when you say sometimes make your own decision for yourself, because you have your own mind, and there's nothing wrong with your mind. You have a strong mind, a strong mind, strong decision. A weak mind need help, always need help. Any problem, you know, some, and it's just so annoying sometimes. It's just so annoying to hear how them talk with failure. It can't be done. If you say it can't be done, obviously it can't be done because you already commanded not to be done. So it's all you think, or you create your thought them. As we proceed with hate, I'm telling you how much chapter in a hate. Not hate. Okay, all right. Oh, only 2 pages left in a hate. Only 2 pages left in a hate. And then we move on to places we go to self-assess. That's a chapter 13. So I'm gonna do one different chapter on chapter 13, right? Because again, to this chapter, this uh live is the ladies' life. So I'm gonna read from the ladies' book. But I wanted to highlight because remember today when and Professor Griff the man said the person who invented microwave. The person who invented the microwave is a black person. And me did a researcher. Cause me tell you, say, as soon as me find the name them and me hear, me just want to find out who is this person, who is this person, who's that person. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. So that me didn't want to touch on. But again, this is three chapter, yeah. I mean not three chapter, one chapter, chapter 12. It's detailed. I'm gonna tell you, say, I love the details of everything. Right? So here now. Hate will always motivate people for destructive action. Agneta Fish, Fisher, Aaron, Hal, Halperin, Daphne Canetti, and Alba Jazini. Why we hate. According to research, Robert Sternberg, hate is a combination of various negative emotions, including repulsion, disgust, anger, fear, and contempt. We feel hate toward individuals or groups that we believe are intentionally malicious and unlikely to change. What's interesting is that we can develop hate toward people we do not know, personally, simply based on their affiliation with a group or ideology that doesn't align with our beliefs. Yes. And that's the just mean say, oh, you can't hate a person for what they believe. Not it's just sometimes it just doesn't make no sense. Right? Because just because the person doesn't agree with how you see things, that's a reason for you to hate them. Research shows that a lack of direct contact with such individual can actually strengthen hate. This confirms my belief that people are harder to hate closer up and easier to hate when they're behind our ideological bunker and they're behind theirs. What's really fascinating is that hate is actually fueled by our need for connection. Oh yeah? I call this common enemy intimacy. Oh yeah, talk about common enemy intimacy. I may not know anything about you, but we hate the same people, and that creates a counterfeit bond. the sense of belonging. I say counterfeit because the bond and belonging are not real. They hinge on my agreeing with you and not challenging the idea that connect us. That's not true belonging. Fake friends, that sounds like it. Sternberg found that hate moves from place to place on a current, quote unquote, and it needs this current to grow and travel. He complains that those currents are provided by cynical leaders who capitalize on people's insecurities to build bolster their own power. He writes, when instigators see the instigator, let me tell you some people, them not have no ass in the race, they just want the race to start so they can see one broke a leg and one broke a hand. I'm serious. When instigators seek to gain traction for their leadership by spreading hate, they often attract observers who do nothing or who over time move from being observers to being participants. Observers to being active participants. Sternberg also states that the more the leaders whip up powerful stories, even one of eight, the more people follow them. Shooting, we know from the research that hate crime victims generally have not done anything specific. They are terrorized for who they are, not for what they have done. For me, this immediately brings to mind all of the innocent trans people, particularly black women, who have been targeted, beaten, and boxed up, not because of anything they have done, but because of who they are. In an interview with the Daily Beast, the actress and activist Laverne Cox talks about documentary disclosure, which addressed the dehumanization of trans people. She explained this is what our film tries to grapple with, this paradox of visibility, that we're potentially more targeted because we're more visible, and so then the need for justice, the need for real justice and understanding, and hearts and minds to be changed, so that the existence of a trans person doesn't cause someone to reach in a way that trans person might lose their life. The research found that the most devastating explained that the goal of hate is not merely to hurt, but to ultimately eliminate or destroy the target, either mentally humiliating, treasuring feeling of revenge, socially excluding, ignoring, or physically killing, torturing, which may be accompanied by the goal to let the wrongdoer suffer. If this isn't enough to make me return to the days when I had a toddlers ban the word hate from my vocabulary, I don't know what it is. And that's what I'm saying. It's a practice. Hate crimes are meant to terrorize more than a single person. The goal is to embedded fear so deeply in the heart of a community that fear becomes a crushing way of life for everyone who shares that identity. There is no simple way to stop hate. However, Sternberg explains, it is not clear that there is any magic bullet for curing hate, but any mechanism that helps one understand things from others' point of view, love, critical thinking, wisdom, engagement with members of target groups at least make hate less likely, because it's harder to hate people if you understand that in many respects they're not all so different from you. Self righteous. The self-righteous scream judgment against others to hide the noise of skeletons dancing in their own closets. I guess they might talk about, I don't know, somebody pana. I don't know. Anyways, self-righteous. I could have sworn self-righteous was you getting your justice just because you think it's righteous. Again, I'm telling you, say, I don't agree with everybody's view. The main objective is understanding, and we have to learn, right? I can tell you exactly what I was wearing and where I was sitting 25 years ago when someone in an AA meeting said, part of my sobriety is letting go of self righteousness. It's really hard because it feels so good, like a pig rolling in it. I remember thinking, oh God, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I think I roll around in that it too. From that day forward, I started thinking of self righteousness as a threat to my self respect, my well being, and my sobriety. Unfortunately, it's virtually impossible to add it to the abstinence list. It's not as binary as having or not having a Bud Light or a cigarette, but I definitely see it as a slippery behavior that necessitates some self reflection and possibly amends. According to researchers, self righteousness is the conviction that one's beliefs and behavior are the most correct. Oh, okay, okay. People who exhibit self righteousness see things as black and white. They tend to be closed minded, inflexible, intolerant of ambiguity, and less likely to consider others' opinion. It is important to realize that self righteousness is different from righteousness. In the case of righteousness, we are appropriately reacting to a true injustice. We're trying to do the right thing. When feeling self righteousness, we feel morally superior to others and are trying to convince ourselves or others that we're doing the right thing. Moral outrage in response to injustice can be classified as righteous anger, when motivated by a true concern about injustice. Whereas when moral outrage is self enhancing, it's self righteous anger. I wish I had understood all this better back then, especially the difference between self righteousness and righteousness. I always thought about self righteousness in terms of terminal uniqueness, quote unquote, a term from the recovery movement that means you think you're different from everyone else. You're an exception. Your addiction struggle is the exception. Your story is the exception, and so on. I didn't know what I know now. I just told myself that I needed more humility and less thinking. I was better than, more right, and always the exception. I had to stop assuming that people who disagreed with me didn't care about people or issue as much as I did. It's funny how thinking I'm better than can slip into I'm worthless. A mere second, in mere seconds, letting go of the first slowly releases us from the second. Given the political climate today, it's important to understand that moral outrage is self enhancing and related to self righteous anger. I've had to be super conscious about the moral outrage and instead focus on doing the next right thing. If there's anything that looks and feel like a pig rolling in it these days, it's performative and moral outrage, especially on social media. All right, so that's self righteousness. That's hate. That's disgust, contempt, and anger. And all of them I look upon as emotions. And most of the time I say emotion is how you feel at the moment. And 5 minutes after that, you never feel them same way as the anyways. That's why the decision where you make when you're in those moments is so detrimental sometimes. Hmm. Okay, so may I look for my research or my did I know that time I Google and I put them up. Okay. Here we go, here we go. Okay, so this is it. Let me see if it's the right person. Percy Spencer. So I'm just gonna do an introduction to her because again, she's invented a lot of stuff. So when we go through like inventions, you can't always pull her up. But this is one of the people when I say I just wanted to touch on because due to the fact the greatness of our people, right, and the accomplishment what these people did before, them need to be highlighted. So, and I said this is what I love because when I learn about and read about these people, just give me a sense of pride. So Percy Spencer, July 19, 1894 to September 8, 1970, was an American physicist, electrical engineer, and inventor known as the inventor of the microwave oven. Early life. Jack was born in Holland, Maine. 18 months later, Spencer's father died, and his mother soon left him in the care of his aunt and uncle. His uncle then died when Spencer was just 7 years old. Subsequently, Spencer subsequently left grammar school to earn money to support himself. Percy Spencer. Oh, I thought it was a female. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. I have to look at. He's a physicist. Oh, he actually did invent the microwave. He had 3 children. Wow. Fine. I definitely have to go do an in-depth in him still. But he's the one who invented the microwave. Fine. I'll do a next live on him. No worries. People, Thanks for stopping by. Because you know it was educational. Have a super night. Oh, and by the way, thank you guys so much for the subscription, people. Yo, look, subscription I go up. Thank you know. Thank AI too, cause it seems like say AI finally start I work on my team. So I want to give a shout out to all the new subscribers. You know, continue like, share. Okay, people. Always manners, respect. I always love unity, prosperity. All of the good stuff, them man. All of the positive stuff, them man. Put in the algorithm. Positive, positive. Right, people? Again, thank you so much for no comment, for no watch. My watch time them I go up to. Everything me love so far. Okay, people. I'm out.